new bug from the renamed company LaserPerformance looks all set to be another runaway success. We talked to designer Joe Richards, who also designed the popular Pico, about the new boat.
Joe, another interesting boat from your drawing board. How did it come about?
It's actually rather a long story, really. I first discussed something like this with Laser 8 or 9 years ago, probably, when Tim Coventry used to run the company. And at the time we decided it wasn't worth doing. And it's one of those, whenever you have these discussions, you get a sort of mental picture of what you might like to try and do. But funnily enough, I grew up sailing. My father had a little cruiser on the River Severn, and we had a Yachting World 7'6" pram dinghy behind it, which from the age of about 7 or 8 onwards I was allowed to do what I liked with, as long as I went upstream, on the basis that sooner or later I'd float back if I got into trouble. And funnily enough, a lot of what I've learned then I've been able to put into this now, if you see what I mean. And it's a little general purpose pram dinghy, which hopefully, well, it does sail very well, and you can put 4 adults in it to row ashore, and hopefully just people have fun with it.
Who's it aimed at? Is it for kids? Is it parents? I mean,
most people jump to the conclusion that it's a boat for kids. In actual fact, it isn't at all. It's a boat that's very suitable for putting kids out in. We have 2 different rigs for it, one with a straight topmast that you can reef, and a basic sail area of 3.7 square metres. And this one you can see behind, which is the race rig, which is 5.3 square metres, which is actually a reasonable size for a dinghy, especially of this size. So actually it's great fun to sail the thing. It hoons along in a breeze.
What strikes me, you just show me around it, is there's a huge number of very, details that a lot of people wouldn't notice, but which are very innovative. Can you tell me about some of those?
Well, yeah, sort of. It's just the same as like in the days of racing a Flying Dutchman or something. It's all about attention to detail, and it's just a lot of little things. Well, I'll probably start at the bow's the easiest thing.
Okay.
Right at the very front, underneath here, there's a handle just for picking the thing up easily. At the same time, the painter runs through right the way from one side of the boat to the other. So you can tie up with it, pull it back in the boat when you're sailing. At the same time, you can tie another boat on the end of it. So you can tie a string of dinghies in a sailing school situation, which I'm sure you're aware from NSC and cows are forever towing things up and down the river. The mast itself is just held in with a very simple plug click fitting, but the tube it goes into through the boat is replaceable. Again, if a dinghy gets a lot of use, you tend to get sand in the bottom of the mast step, and over a period of time it will wear through. What we've actually got in the bottom of the tube is a hole, so water, it actually flushes itself out while you're sailing. So hopefully we put that off for as long as possible, but the whole tube is replaceable if it does wear out. The kicking strap system is fairly normal, but with the bent topmast you want the whole of the topmast to move round with the boom. So there's actually a little spigot on the back of the mast here that fits in a hole on the boom. So with this rig, the topmast will follow the boom round. If we're using the straight topmast and the reefable rig, it's just like a Pico, where this just sits further up on the collar without the spigot, and then you can rotate the mast to reef the sail.
Yeah.
The centreboard is aluminium extrusion with injection moulded end caps. One of the things we've been lucky enough with this boat is the brief to start with, if there isn't something to do, Job will go away and sort it. So actually I think we've got something in the region of 26 one-off injection mouldings on it, which all take time to sort out. The other worry is, of course, you rotomould a boat, it will shrink somewhere between 2 and 4% when you're moulding it. Slightly dependent on the weather, slightly dependent on where it is in the boat. It's not a linear thing. So you've got all these injection mouldings coming from one end of the world, which have their own shrinkage issues, trying to fit them to a boat at the other end of the world. So there's been a lot of finger crossing in the meantime, just trying to hope it all goes together. How does that work out? We've actually, all the major components we haven't had an issue with at all. There's a couple of tiny little things which 5 minutes with a file will sort out when nobody's looking. We'll deal with the tool.
One of the things I like is the fact you can row this boat, and it's clearly well designed for rowing with the seating positions. But you don't have to have the oars in the boat. You can just they stow away.
The oars themselves, they there's a hatch just through the back here, which is the same hatch when you're rotor moulding a boat. If it's a foam sandwich boat, the first shot of material goes in when you shut the mould and put it in the oven. When you go beyond that, we have to whip it out of the oven and put another shot of material in, which goes in through this hatch,
right,
which then creates a foam. Then we whip it out again and put a third shot in, which makes the inner skin. So we end up with a proper sandwich structure. The oars basically split in two and just pop through the hole as well. So you can go sailing with your oars down below and the rollants in another bin at the back here, along with your sunglasses and the car keys. And it's all with you in case the wind stops.
So, you know, I sense sort of a lot of passion about this boat. You've lived with it for quite a while, I suspect. And
I've lived with it quite a long time. It's been 2.5 years we've been quietly working away at it. And yeah, it's funny, one of the first hurdles you have to get over as a designer is realising you're not designing boats for yourself, otherwise they'd be full on carbon, this, that and the others. But actually, it's every bit as interesting coming up with something which has the same level of attention to detail, but you're trying to make it do a lot of jobs and build it at the correct price and make it so that you can transport it around the world easily. In fact, these boats, the inside surface resembles the outside, so we can actually stack the boats up and put 60 of them in a high-top container. And it's details like that that make the difference between it working commercially or not.
I love the name, the Bug. How did that come about?
I can't remember exactly. It's been on my computer since the day I started drawing it 2.5 years ago. I was jolly glad Laser kept it, because as far as I was concerned, it's been the Bug since day one. So, yeah. So
are you looking forward to seeing lots and lots of kids and adults playing out in lots of boats?
Hopefully, yeah, just a lot of people enjoying sailing. I designed the Pico years ago, and it's great. Most places you go in the world nowadays, you find Picos on beaches somewhere, and people enjoying them.
Yeah.
And there's nothing particularly clever, but they kind of do what they say on the lid.
Yeah.
And hopefully this does the same, that it fulfills the need, and I hope we have at least as many.
Thanks, Joe. We look forward to seeing lots of them on the water.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Push you out there one day.